This big-time preacher who started the Daystar Christian broadcasting station named Marcus Lamb, he was out there telling everybody, don't take the vaccination, don't worry about COVID-19, and on and on. And lo and behold, he caught it and died. And, you know, they ran a clip on it on the news, and so I'm going to let you hear about, you know, how people are, you know, people actually, a large number of preachers who have preached that the COVID-19 is not real, and yet they're dead. They've died from it. And there's this other thing that, and I'm going to let you listen to this. I think Brian Stelter is the one who brought the report we were able to get. Mr. Engineer, run that. Let's just leave my mic open, please.
Anti-Vaxx was his crusade, but COVID evidently claimed his life. Marcus Lamb died after being hospitalized for COVID-19 recently. Lamb led a popular Christian broadcast network and used his empire, among other things, he used it to spread inaccurate information about coronavirus vaccines. He advocated for alternate treatments instead. One of his shows featured prominent anti-vaxxers like Robert Kennedy Jr.
I want to just make a correction here. I said that that COVID-19 was a hoax. Let me. Some have said that, but not him. He was against the vaccine. Let's be clear. I want to clear that up as we go forward. He was. Yeah, you get that. He was suggesting hydroxychloroquine, and I don't know what he was suggesting. Let's see what Brian will tell us.
Lamb's death has made national headlines this week. Some Christian leaders don't want to talk about it, as the Washington Post pointed out in this story. Joining me now is someone who will talk about it. Bob Smetana is a national writer for the Religion News Service and a former president of the Religion News Association. Bob, tell us about Marcus Lamb. For those who didn't watch his programs on Daystar, what was he telling viewers about COVID-19?
Sure. So Marcus Lamb was the head of one of the largest Christian broadcasters. He was telling people that the COVID vaccines were dangerous, that the alternative medicines were better, that really there was kind of a conspiracy by the government and the big pharma and the news media to give him disinformation. So he felt he was giving the truth about the COVID vaccines.
And how does this relate to the larger landscape of Christian broadcasting? Has there been a lot of vaccine denialism on other networks or programs or on other broadcasts as well?
There's some prominent folks to do that. So Lamb did that. There's a prominent broadcaster named Eric Metaxas who's been very anti-vaccine. You get someone like Dave Ramsey, who's a Christian financial guru who didn't talk about vaccines, but was very skeptical of COVID and anti-mask. I think what you have, and it shows in the broader Christian, especially evangelical landscape, is that the COVID pandemic has been very difficult for churches. It's shut them down, it's cut people off from one another, and it's become seen as an attack on religion.
Even though it's not. It's been so politicized, and unfortunately there's this kind of toxic merger of right-wing politics and some of these churches that it seems to have advanced or sort of made the situation worse, right? Where, you know, they're preaching the gospel of Donald Trump and vaccine denialism.
Yeah, you saw that actually this recently at a big church down in San Antonio where there was one of these kind of God and country anti-COVID rallies where they were shouting in a church, let's go Brandon, which is a political slogan. There's been this, I think folks see this kind of distrust of institutions and anger about the way the country's going and how it's disrupted religion. And in Pentecostal spheres like Lamb, they have a real strong view of spiritual warfare, so that they believe there's spiritual forces out there at play. And so they see this as an attack. So when he got sick, they saw this as an attack on him for spreading the truth about COVID. And that's why one reason why his folks won't stop.
Pause right there. I heard this and I reviewed this tape. And that's true. A lot of people believe that Lamb's death is a result of an evil attacking him because he was telling the truth about the vaccines. I don't know how to logically interpret that. That that Satan or the devil, I suppose that's who would do it because he wasn't physically killed. What the devil did was gave what Christian people, I mean, you're talking millions of Christians, and Marcus Lamb had he ran a television station like Christian broadcast with Pat Robertson, CBN, and TBN. This boy was he was out there big. His followers believe, at least it is intimated here, that the reason why he died was an attack by the devil who used COVID-19 to kill him. And the reason why the devil did it is because the devil wanted him to stop preaching against the evil of the vaccine. I get, maybe that makes sense to you. But it doesn't seem like something that, well, if the vaccine was so bad and he was saving Christians, why didn't Jesus come to his rescue? Why did Jesus let him die? I mean, Jesus stopped the lion's mouth and with Daniel in the lion's den. Jesus got in the fiery furnace with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I mean, he got Joseph up out of prison. Got Jeremiah up out of a well. I mean, if what Lamb was doing was so good, saving literally millions of people by telling them not to take the vaccine, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't take it, that's not what I'm saying, then why didn't the Lord let that good message go? Listen. Which, the next question I raise, and this you say, Pastor Man, you don't have to go there. I know I don't have to go there. You probably say, Pastor Man, you made a mistake by going there. I don't think so. Listen, if the logic is that Marcus Lamb was killed by an evil spirit because the evil spirit didn't want him preaching the gospel of anti-vaccine. And the gospel of anti-vaccine will save a whole lot of people. But the other option is this: if COVID just took him down and he died like the other, 750,000 people in America that have died from it, then maybe the message of the Daystar ministry itself was not a message from God. That's my logic. And there's one other thing, and I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. You know what I think? I think people like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Donald Trump, and Mark Meadows, and Steve Bannon, and a whole lot of other people, you know what I think? I think they've taken the shot, but they're not going to tell you. I think there are a lot of preachers out there who are watching these other preachers die like flies, went and got a shot, but yet they stand up in their pulpits and tell you not to do it. I guarantee you Tucker Carlson's had one. I guarantee you that boy has had the jab. I guarantee you. I stake my seat in heaven that boy has had the jab. That Laura Logan as well. They're running around here, right? Telling you don't take it, yet they have secretly taken the shot themselves. They got the jab. But for whatever reason, there's a cycle going on out there now that gets people all in a tizzy if you tell them not to take it. So they taking it. Listen, Tucker Carlson won't live, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, they all have taken the shot. All of them. Listen, they out there peddling death to keep an audience, peddling death to you, I believe. That's what I believe. So that they can keep their audience. And it doesn't really matter Because sometimes if they were talking about Colin Powell, he took the shot, but he was suffering with cancer. And, if you got underlying conditions, medical traumas, COVID becomes all the more grievous. But I guarantee you, these preachers out there telling you don't take it, and then you got a bunch of them out there telling you that COVID is a hoax. I guarantee you, they've taken the shot, and they took their children to get the jab too, their wives and children. But yet they're standing up in pulpits. This is a shame. It's a shame. But for whatever reason, they can get a large audience of people, and the other reason is that the people that come to them are not logical thinkers or even truthful in themselves. There's one other question, and I truly promise not to flick myself on you, Fred, okay? Do you think there are possibly people sitting up in the Daystar Church or some of these other churches when the preacher said don't get the jab, that they say amen, but they've had the jab themselves. They got it themselves, but they said amen, amen, brother pastor, yeah, but they've had it themselves. I don't know that to be true. I'm just taking a logical look at it. Let's listen to the rest of this because I think it's very important how these preachers who've watched Lamb die but still won't tell other people the truth.
Up with their kind of promotion of this vaccine skepticism and alternative treatments for COVID because they see that it's continuing the good fight.
So Lamb's funeral is tomorrow. What does this mean more broadly about Christian media? I sometimes fear that, let's call it secular media, does not pay enough attention to Christian broadcasting and to the world that you cover every day. There's been this battle raging about Trump and now about COVID in Christian media. What do we need to keep an eye on, Bob?
Well, we definitely want to keep an eye on the kind of COVID restrictions and the kind of pushback against that. We should be watching, as reporters, I watch Christian media, not because I necessarily want to, but because it's important to see what the concerns, they're tapping into concerns of folks about the way COVID has disrupted the country. They've tapped into the whole CRT, critical race theory debates long before it became popular in the regular media. I think this kind of disruption of, can people trust one another? I think there's a whole, what I would call like a distrust economy, where there is a way to attract people, both in the political and the religious world by feeding on distrust and saying they're lying to you, we'll tell you the truth. And sometimes folks, I think the folks like Lamb were true believers. They believed that they were standing up for the good fight, and look how just churches have been disrupted and the country's disrupted over this. So one thing this has done is made it very difficult to talk about like vaccines. Clergy won't talk about it. And so even his peers who are sad he has passed away and may not hold his vaccine views are not going to criticize him for this. They just won't talk about vaccines or COVID or masks because it's seen as divisive.
Right, and that makes a bad situation worse.
All right, okay. I push back on the fact that he was genuine, that he really did. I think he was just profiteering from anyway.